check this out right here. For all the people that are like, oh, was it that bad? We don't need to worry about it. This is what we're talking about. This is the narrative that the media created around Russia for the Obama administration right here.
To elect Trump is the end of our democracy. Votes were definitely affected. Russia hacked the election to tilt it to Mr. Trump.
The Russians definitively hacked the election.
Russia did hack the election.
No doubt. The Russians hacked the election.
Yes, Russia hacked the election.
Fact, Russia hacked the election.
President-elect Donald Trump still not sounding convinced that Russia hacked the election.
The president does not want to come to terms with the fact that the Russians hacked the election.
President Trump says he still wonders if the Russians hacked the election.
If you can get him to accept that Russia hacked the election, see if you can get him to accept who won the Civil War.
If he admits it, it casts a shadow on his victory over Hillary Clinton.
Russia hacked the election.
Russia hacked the election.
Russia hacked the election.
Russia hacked the election.
Let's be clear, Russia hacked the election. Definitively, Russia hacked the election, and Russia is doing it again now.
Election-related cyber hacking.
Cyber hacking of U.S. elections. Cyber hacking of the election.
Russia was cyber hacking the election.
Russia was cyber hacking the election.
The CIA, the FBI, NSA.
All of these intelligence organizations,
17 intelligence agencies,
all conclude that Russia hacked the election.
If we find out that Donald Trump just theoretically was colluding with Russia while they were hacking the election, that is completely impeachable.
This dossier alleged a conspiracy between the Trump campaign and the Russian effort to hack the election.
The director of national intelligence, the head of the National Security Agency, the head of the FBI, all of these intelligence experts saying Russia hacked the election.
There you have it right there. It's just so unbelievable. It's so unbelievable. Now, again, just so we're clear, this is what Tulsi Gabbard has exposed.
I'm going to go over the key findings from the House Intelligence Report, which investigated the claims that were made by an intelligence community assessment ordered by President Obama and published in January of 2017. First, Putin's principal interests relating to the 2016 election were to undermine faith in the U.S. democratic process, not show any preference of a certain candidate. In fact, this report shows Putin held back from leaking compromising material on Hillary Clinton prior to the election, instead planning to release it after the election to weaken what Moscow viewed as an inevitable Clinton presidency. In the January 2017 intelligence community assessment that President Obama ordered, John Brennan, who was CIA director at the time, and the intelligence community intentionally suppressed intelligence that showed Putin was saving the most damaging material that he had in his possession about Hillary Clinton until after her potential and likely victory. The report goes into great detail about the information that Russia and Putin had on Hillary Clinton, which included possible criminal acts like secret meetings with multiple named U.S. religious organizations in which State Department officials offered, in exchange for supporting Secretary Clinton's campaign for the presidency, significant increases in financing from the State Department. They also had documents that showed the patronage of the State Department to State Department employees who would go and support Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign. There were high-level DNC emails that detailed evidence of Hillary's, quote, psycho-emotional problems, uncontrolled fits of anger, aggression, and cheerfulness. And that then...
This is what I talked about earlier with Hillary. Hillary is completely unhinged. This woman is not in control of her emotions. Not the first time that's been said about a woman, but she's completely not in control at all. And they tried to lie and manipulate her into the White House by lying about President Trump. And so many people bought into it.
Secretary Clinton was allegedly on a daily regimen of heavy tranquilizers.
Heavy tranquilizers.
Then CIA Director Brennan and the intelligence community mischaracterized intelligence and relied on dubious substandard sources to create a contrived false narrative that Putin developed a quote-unquote clear preference for Trump. Brennan and the IC misled lawmakers by referencing the debunked Steele dossier to assess, quote unquote, Russia's plans and intentions, falsely suggesting that this dossier had intelligence value when he knew that it was discredited. The intelligence community excluded significant intelligence and ignored or selectively quoted reliable intelligence that contradicted the intelligence community assessment's key findings on Putin's alleged support for Trump. Including this intelligence reporting would have exposed the ICA's claim as implausible, if not ridiculous.
Pez said that CNN cut away from this. Not surprising. Absolutely. CNN cut away from this during the live feed because they did not want people to hear it. CNN is the enemy of the people. And this is the biggest political scandal we've ever heard of. I mean, the reason I'm so invested in this is for obvious reasons, but like, I truly think Barack Obama is the single most damaging president in my lifetime, and I don't think it's even close. And I hated George W. Bush. I can't say I really hated Bill Clinton. I mean, you know, I'm not a fan of Bill Clinton, but I mean, I was really young when Bill Clinton, was, as president. But like, I remember George W. Bush. I remember how terrible he was. Looking at what Barack Obama did with the identity politics and the wokeness and the anti-police narrative and the racial division that he led, the weakness of America, all of that stuff that we're still trying to clean up, that's his legacy. Like, that's what Barack Obama did. Barack Hussein Obama, who was installed, no doubt about that. He was such a guarded candidate at the time. He was a one-term senator, a former community organizer who gave a speech at the DNC, and everybody started to think, oh, this guy's something else, because he gave one speech at the DNC and everybody freaked out. Went from a community organizer to a one-term senator to the most popular president in history until Joe Biden became the most popular president in history. And the impact of Barack Hussein Obama, if it wasn't for Trump, we would still be dealing with it, man. We really would. I've played that video many times where, Obama basically tried to make a point to destroy Donald Trump in front of all of his powerful elite friends, and it backfired gloriously on that day. And here we are now where, President Trump has essentially destroyed almost all of Barack Obama's legacy at this point in time. And this is capping it off right here.
The intelligence community assessment omitted reliably sourced information, such as how some Russian intelligence officials were, quote unquote, planning for candidate Hillary Clinton's victory, while others assessed neither Trump nor Clinton would respect Russia's interests. As was reflected in the ODNI documents that we released on Friday, multiple intelligence community assessments released in the months leading up to the November 2016 election concluded that Russia had neither the intent nor capability to impact the outcome of the US election. On December 5th of 2016, the FBI and ODNI gave the House Intelligence Committee its first post-election classified briefing, in which there was no mention of Putin aspiring to elect Trump by either agency.
Boom.
The presidential daily brief, drafted on December 8th of 2016, stated that no Russian or criminal actors impacted vote counts. This document was pulled just hours before it was to be published due to, quote unquote, new guidance. If it had been published, it would have been briefed to both President Obama and President-elect Donald Trump. On December 9th, 2016, a National Security Council meeting was called to gather President Obama's senior national security officials, which included CIA Director Brennan, then Obama DNI James Clapper, Susan Rice, and others. Following that secret meeting, DNI Clapper's assistant sent an email to the intelligence community with the subject line, POTUS tasking on Russia election meddling, tasking ODNI leaders to create a new assessment per the president's request. The House Intelligence Committee Oversight Report that we released today reveals that, quote, unlike routine intelligence community analysis, the intelligence community assessment was a high-profile product ordered by the president, President Obama. It directed senior intelligence community agency heads and created an intelligence community assessment limited to just 5 analysts. using one principal drafter. This is not something that occurs in the normal path of producing an intelligence community assessment that reflects the views across the intelligence community.
I want to remind everyone that the Democrats also tried to say that Tulsi Gabbard was a Russian agent as well. They put these labels on her years ago. Tulsi, I can't remember. I feel like Tulsi was nearly at the point where they wanted to anoint her almost like their new leader of the Democratic Party at one point in time, but she pissed them off. And they essentially picked Kamala Harris over her because I guess they found out that she could not be controlled, which is exactly what the Democratic Party wants, which, tells you everything you need to know about the people that lead the Democratic Party. Yeah, she was the vice chair of the DNC. Exactly. Yeah. So, and she did. She endorsed Bernie over Hillary. And of course, Bernie Sanders completely stabbed Tulsi Gabbard in the back because of course he did, because Bernie Sanders is a complete and total coward, always has been, always will be. He's a piece of shit, but this is the Democrats. This is what they do. So you listen, the Democrats can look at all of the people that, they've stabbed in the back, and they have created this situation themselves. Tulsi could have been leading their party. They screwed her over, and now she's destroying them.
The production of this intelligence community assessment was subject to unusual directives directly from the president and senior political appointees, especially the former director of the CIA, John Brennan. The House Intelligence Committee Oversight Report also shows how later that same day, on December 9th, Brennan ordered the publication of quote-unquote substandard reporting on Russian activities, which had previously been withheld from publication of prior assessments because the information was judged, quote, to have not met long-standing publication standards. Some of the information later used in the Obama-ordered assessment over the objections of veteran CIA officers was, quote unquote, unclear or from unknown sources. The Intelligence Committee's oversight report reveals that CIA Director Brennan overruled senior CIA officers who challenged the Obama-ordered intelligence assessment, stating, quote, we don't have direct information that Putin wanted to get Trump elected. Yet, the Obama-directed assessment was published on January 6, 2017, which explicitly stated, quote, we assess Putin and the Russian government aspired to help President-elect Trump's election chances when possible by discrediting Secretary Clinton and publicly contrasting her unfavorably to him, end of quote. The CIA and FBI, then led by John Brennan and James Comey, expressed high confidence in this judgment, while the NSA expressed moderate confidence. Yet, as the report we released today shows, the ICA, the Intelligence Community Assessment, did not cite any report where Putin indicated helping Trump win was an objective. The opposite is true.
We've listened to some of this already, but the point being is that media clip that I showed you prior to this, that should show you how corrupt this entire situation is. And I mean, I remember hearing the Russia stuff forever. The media continues with their pathetic tactics and their pathetic narrative. And I don't know how this is going to end, but I'm just glad that Barack Hussein Obama's name is being dragged through the mud. I want to continue to see it dragged through the mud. I want to continue to see the words treason and traitor attached to Barack Hussein Obama, because that's exactly what he is. And I'm glad that this is playing out the way that it is. Just watch how Tulsi, just like this question right here, Tulsi Gabbard is a fucking badass. Like, she is absolutely a badass. Just watch her mannerisms and her attitude towards Caitlin Collins right here.
Caitlin. Thank you, Caroline. Two questions for Director Gabbard. Just on this, Director Gabbard, you referenced the past intelligence reports and assessments on this, including that 2017 one that was signed off, as Ed noted, by every Republican on the Senate Intelligence Community, including the acting chair of the time, now Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who said in a statement that they did not find any evidence of Russian collusion, but they did find, however, is very troubling, and they found irrefutable evidence of Russian meddling. One, are you saying that he's wrong in that statement that he made then? And secondly, what would you say to people who believe that you're only releasing these documents now to improve your standing with the president after he said that your intelligence?
Look at her. Look at look at the look on her face. She's like, "Oh, you dumb bitch. You dumb bitch." Well, I love that.
Who believe that you're only releasing these documents now to improve your standing with the president after he said that your intelligence assessments were wrong?
Well, first, I want to correct something that you stated, which was citing the Senate Intelligence Committee's report as being one and the same. I think you said the intelligence community. The Senate Intelligence Committee has a very different function than the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. The evidence and the intelligence that has been declassified and released is irrefutable. I'm going to let Caroline speak to Secretary Rubio.
I'll speak to both questions. First, on Secretary Rubio, he put out a statement in 2020 following that Senate Intelligence Committee report, and he said what they found is troubling. We found irrefutable evidence of Russian meddling, which the Director of National Intelligence just confirmed for all of you, that Russia was trying to sow distrust and chaos. But what's the outrage in this that Secretary Rubio did not say at the time, the Democrats were saying at the time, is the fact that the intelligence community was concocting this narrative that the president colluded with the Russians, that the president's son was holding secret meetings with the Russians, all of these lies that were never true. And he also said at that time, we discovered deeply troubling actions taken by the FBI under Comey, particularly their acceptance and willingness to rely on the Steele dossier without verifying its methodology or sourcing. The Steele dossier that many outlets in this room ran as the gospel truth, and it was cooked up and paid for by the Clinton campaign. As for your second question, Caitlin, I think who is saying that she would release this to try to boost her standing with the president? Who has said that?
Well, the president has publicly undermined her when it came to Iran. He said she was wrong. He told me that she didn't know what she was talking about. That was on Air Force One on camera.
The only people who are suggesting that the Director of National Intelligence would release evidence to try to boost her standing with the president are the people in this room who constantly try to sow distrust and chaos amongst the president's cabinet, and it is not working. I will just answer your question directly. I am with the President of the United States every day. He has the utmost confidence in Director Gabbard. He always has. He continues to. And that is true of his entire cabinet, who is all working as one team to deliver on the promises this president made.
Dude, the fact that Tulsi just stood there and was like, I'm just going to let her handle my insignificant business. She didn't even flinch, bro. She didn't even flinch. Like, that was badass. So I love seeing it. And, you know, the mainstream is really struggling right now because they're trying their best to kind of spin this around to the point where, you know, obviously, you know, we saw what happened with the Wall Street Journal today. And again, there's a lot of people that are really, really retarded that are falling for it. But like, so today, the Wall Street Journal released a clickbait headline about Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. And do you know what they did? They put it behind a paywall. The Wall Street Journal purposely made the Trump stuff, put the stuff behind a paywall. So the only thing people would see is the headline. The article itself admits a bunch of other names were in the documents, and they didn't think it was credible and believed it was bullshit. Notice what's going on here. This is what's going on here. And how many people ran with that headline? Every fucking body ran with that headline. Everybody ran with it. Nobody wants to do any research whatsoever. But you know, this is what the mainstream does. This is what the mainstream does. So not surprising at all. I mean, like, look at this right here. I mean, she doesn't give a fuck right now. Look, she just calls people out right here. Listen to her.
There are still people, won't surprise you, within the intelligence community who don't want this information to see the light of day. Some of them may be implicated in the crafting of it. Others are concerned about people being embarrassed. Others are concerned about accountability. We have members of the media who were complicit in this from the very beginning, who were leaked early copies of this, or at least lines from this January 2017 Obama manufactured intelligence assessment. They printed what they were fed. People like Ellen Nakashima from the Washington Post who, by the way, went on to win a Pulitzer Prize.
Naming names. Look at Tulsi go.
Because for years she was so good at lying and not telling the truth to the American people that they gave her an award for it. There are still people.
Tulsi is on fire. As Trump said, she's the hottest one in the room. I agree, President Trump.